The lobby of Armin Group's headquarters shimmered with marble floors and tall glass walls that reflected the morning sun. Executives in tailored suits walked briskly through security gates, their voices low and confident. It was not a place for children. So when Sana stepped inside holding the hands of her two kids, every head turned. Ayan, 6 years old, clutched a small blue backpack to his chest. Little Meher, barely 4, held tightly to her mother's dupatta, her wide eyes scanning the enormous chandeliers overhead. Sana felt the weight of stairs pressing against her back, but she kept walking. She had not planned to bring her children to a job interview. But life had not gone according to plan either. Just a year ago, she had a quiet apartment, a husband who worked in construction, and dreams she kept folded neatly inside her heart. Then the accident happened. One rainy evening, a truck skidded across the highway, and everything changed. Hospital bills swallowed their savings. Her husband survived for 3 days before the machines fell silent. After that, the world did not slow down for her grief. Rent was due, school fees were due, groceries were due. Sana had studied business administration before marriage. She had once been top of her class, admired by professors for her sharp presentations and steady confidence. But after marriage, she chose to focus on family. Now, with 2 small children and no immediate support, she needed to step back into the world she had left behind. When Armin Group announced an opening for a junior operations manager, it felt like fate whispering to her. The only problem was childcare. Her neighbor, who usually helped, had fallen ill that morning. Sana stood in her tiny kitchen staring at the clock, interview letter trembling in her hand. Missing this chance wasn't an option. So she dressed her children neatly, packed snacks in their bags, and took a deep breath. "Stay close to me," she had told them. "Mama has something important to do today." Now, standing at the reception desk of one of the biggest companies in the city, she repeated those words silently to herself. The receptionist blinked in surprise. "Ma'am, this is a corporate office." "I have an interview," Sana replied calmly, sliding her letter across the counter. The receptionist glanced at the children, then back at the letter. She hesitated, but professionalism won. "Please take a seat. I'll inform HR." Sana sat in the waiting area, her palms damp. Ayan swung his legs nervously. Meher leaned against her, whispering, "Mama, is this your school?" Sana smiled softly, "Something like that." Minutes felt like hours. Finally, a tall woman in a navy suit approached. "Sana Rahman." "Yes. I'm Farah from HR. The CEO would like to meet you personally." Sana's heart skipped. "The CEO, why?" She gathered her children and followed Farah down a long corridor lined with awards and framed photographs of major projects. At the end stood a heavy wooden door. Inside was a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Behind a sleek desk stood a man in his early 40s, sleeves rolled up, studying a file. He looked up. His gaze shifted from Sana to the children. There was a brief pause. Then he smiled. "Please have a seat," he said warmly. This was Hamza Arman, the CEO whose business strategies were discussed in newspapers, whose interviews were shared widely online. He was known to be sharp, decisive, and intensely private. He leaned back slightly, folding his hands. "Why are your kids here?" he asked. The question was simple, but not harsh. Sana felt dozens of possible answers crowding her throat. Apologies, excuses, explanations. Instead, she chose honesty. "Because if I had left them at home, I wouldn't have come," she said gently. "And if I hadn't come, I would have lost the chance to work here." The room fell quiet. Hamza's eyes held hers, not with judgment but curiosity. She continued, her voice steady. "I didn't bring them to gain sympathy. I brought them because I don't have anyone else today. I'm a mother before I'm anything else. But I'm also capable, qualified, and ready to work." Ayan squeezed her hand. Meher had started quietly nibbling on a biscuit. Hamza's lips curved slowly. He stood up and walked around the desk, stopping a few steps away from them. He crouched down slightly to Ayan's level. "And what do you think your mama is here for?" he asked. "To get a job," Ayan replied proudly. "She's very smart." Meher added, "Mama makes the best charts." Hamza laughed softly. He straightened and looked at Sana again. "Tell me about your experience." And just like that, the interview began. Sana spoke with clarity and quiet confidence. She explained supply chain optimization, cost control strategies, and how she once led a university project that increased simulated profits by 30%. Her mind, dormant under layers of grief and responsibility, came alive. Hamza asked challenging questions. She answered without flinching. Halfway through, Meher slid off the chair and wandered toward the large window. Hamza paused mid-sentence and gently guided her back, handing her a small notepad and pen from his desk. "For drawing," he said. Sana noticed something then. He wasn't irritated. He wasn't annoyed. He was amused. When the interview ended, Hamza walked back to his desk, tapping the file lightly. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "most candidates try to impress me with rehearsed answers." Sana waited. "You impressed me with reality." She didn't dare assume anything yet. Then he added, "You start Monday." For a moment, she thought she had misheard. "I what?" "You're hired," he confirmed, smiling fully now. "And before you worry, HR will discuss flexible timings for the first few months. We'll figure it out." Tears welled in her eyes, despite her effort to remain composed. "Thank you," she whispered. Hamza shook his head slightly. "No, thank you." She frowned, confused. "For reminding me what responsibility looks like." As Sana left the office with her children, hope felt lighter than fear for the first time in months. But that wasn't the end of the story. On Monday, when she walked into Armin Group as an employee, whispers followed her again. Some colleagues glanced at her with curiosity, others with skepticism. "She's the one who brought kids to the CEO's office." Must have been a sympathy hire. Sana heard enough to understand. But she also remembered something her late husband once told her: "Let your work speak." So she worked. She arrived on time, left only after completing tasks, and volunteered for complex assignments others avoided. Within weeks, she streamlined a vendor coordination system that reduced delays significantly. Reports that once took days were completed in hours under her management. Hamza observed quietly from a distance. One afternoon, he called a meeting with senior staff. "I want to propose something," he began. "A small daycare facility within the building." Murmurs erupted instantly. "This is a corporate environment. It will distract employees. It's expensive." Hamza listened patiently. Then he said, "Talent shouldn't have to choose between work and family. If we want loyalty and excellence, we need to support real lives." The proposal passed. 3 months later, a bright, cheerful daycare opened on the second floor. Sana stood outside its glass door one morning, watching Ayan help Meher stack colorful blocks. Other employees' children giggled nearby. She felt a presence beside her. "Hamza." "Happy?" he asked. She nodded. "More than you know." He looked at the children thoughtfully. "When I asked you that day, 'Why are your kids here?' I expected an excuse. And instead, I found the strongest candidate in the room." Sana smiled softly. "Strength doesn't feel strong when you're living it." He considered that. "You've changed this company," he said quietly. She shook her head. "You did that." He glanced at her. "No, I just listened." Years later, Armin Group became known not only for profits but for progressive workplace policies. Articles praised its inclusive culture. Competitors followed. Whenever asked in interviews what inspired the shift, Hamza would simply say, "One honest answer." And somewhere in the office, a framed photo hung discreetly near the daycare entrance. A mother holding two children's hands in a marble lobby, walking toward uncertainty with courage. Underneath it was a small plaque. Sometimes the bravest thing you can bring to work is your whole life. And every time Sana passed it, she remembered that morning, the question, the smile, and the moment everything began to change.